try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl championship.
Confusion and uncertainty this year more than some in the past.
This team looks like it's ready to make a move, but we just don't know if it's bad or good this year.
J.J. McCarthy is eventually going to take over, but it's a no-lose situation for them.
I mean, they suck. They were 7-10.
Only on SportsGrid.
I'm talking about playing Deontay George, Taylor Hendricks, Isaiah Collier, the rookie, Cody Williams, the rookie, Bryce Sandomar, second year, maybe keeping Walker Kessler. That means either Danny Ainge thinks that they're going to be a championship team in 3 to 4 years, or he's going to wait 1 year and he's going to trade Lauri Markkanen and he's going to get the farm.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Say the under has the correct juice to the 6.5 win total for the New York Giants. It's a losing season. It's a bad season in the greater New York area. Is Brian Daboll and is Joe Shane back next year?
As a Giants fan, what are you looking forward to? Absolutely nothing. You're hoping like the Yankees make a long enough run so you can forget about the Giants.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
The bottom of this field is a bunch of guys, quite frankly, that aren't on the tour, aren't on the DP tour, aren't on the Korn Ferry tour.
You know, the top 25 or so in this field, I mean, you've got Rory, you've got Lowry, you've got Scheffler, you know, all four Americans, Minwoo Lee and Jason Day. And you go to Mito Pereira and Joaquin Neiman out of Chile. So, you know, it really is pretty deep.
In-game live, prime time, only on Sport.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be with you here on this Tuesday morning as we get ready to preview everything happening in Major League Baseball. Some odds, some notes. Of course, the awards season is coming up and the ending is near. And of course, college and pro football right around the corner. We have it covered for you. Matt Lutovsky joins us from Sporting News. Also, Sam McQuillan is our guest contributor from Legal Sports Report. And with the FedEx Cup coming up, playoffs, we've got Brady Kannon in the house talking some PGA Tour as well. Those are some of the stories that we will cover for you here on the show today. Every day, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. But we start off with a major announcement, a very big award for SportsGrid yet again, back-to-back years. Congratulations to us. If you catch Inc. online or Inc. magazine, that you have seen that the Inc. 5000 is out and SportsGrid is on the list again. The fastest growing companies list, SportsGrid checks in once again, second straight year, 5,000 companies listed, and guess who's in the top 1,000? SportsGrid again. We check in at number 688. Fastest growing company list is out. Congratulations to everyone involved once again. And you can obviously see here Jeremy Stein's quote, essentially telling everyone here, folks, ladies and gentlemen, right now that being on the Inc. 5000 list for the second consecutive year is a testament to our team's relentlessness, dedication, and passion for intimidation and innovation, not intimidation, innovation in the sports media industry. That's why, folks, sometimes you got to put these on the show, the glasses, to see it up and close and personal. Congratulations to everybody involved. All right, as expected, bookmaker Matthew Boyer pleaded guilty to 3 charges last Friday for his role in a sweeping probe into the illegal California sports betting market. He's going away. It's going to be a multi-year sentence described as one of the nation's largest betting bookmakers. Boyer's operation allegedly accepted millions of dollars in wagers from Ippei Mizuhara, the former interpreter of Los Angeles Dodgers outfielder Shohei Ohtani. Based on federal sentencing guidelines, Boyer could theoretically receive a prison sentence of up to 18 years, but he plans to cooperate with federal authorities. Meanwhile, the National Football League could be joining Live Golf and all of these other companies to essentially accept money from private equity firms. The National Football League making the announcement yesterday that they're willing to at least entertain some equity firms in the future. No word on exactly who will be joining the National Football League in these new partnerships, but needless to say, this is pretty groundbreaking for the National Football League. Derica Hamby is a player in the WNBA, and she is suing the Las Vegas Aces and the WNBA as well, as she has announced a federal lawsuit against the WNBA and her former team regarding treatment from the Aces revealing she was pregnant. Hamby alleges that she was subject to repeated acts of intimidation, discrimination, and retaliation from the Aces, leading to her January 2023 trade to the Sparks. Hamby also alleges that the WNBA failed to properly investigate the issue. Not good news for the WNBA to hear something like this. The National Football League also doesn't like to hear when players get traded and hold out. That is what's happening. Hassan Reddick basically is a new member of the Jets, and not even so much. Right now, he's requesting a trade from the Jets, and they gave up a third-round pick for him. But the bad news for Hassan Reddick is he's not going anywhere. Joe Douglas, running the show for the Jets, has a quote, hopefully I'll get this one right, saying that we will have informed Hassan that we will not trade him, that he is expected to be here with his teammates, and that he will continue to be fined per the CBA if he does not report. Since the trade discussions back in March, we have been clear, direct, and consistent with our position. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of the top picks in your upcoming fantasy football league draft, but is he right now? Remains to be seen. Injured his hamstring at practice. He was incredible for the Lions last year. 945 yards and 10 touchdowns, 316 receiving yards. Gibbs is going to be off the field for an unspecified amount of time. The Dallas Cowboys valuation is at $10.32 billion. They are the most valuable sports franchise in the world. Once upon a time, they were only worth 40 or 50 million. That's sort of crazy. College football begins next Saturday. Our coverage here on SportsGrid all next week, including Saturday morning. So make sure you catch Ben Stevens, Joe Lisi, and the entire crew getting you ready for the upcoming college football season. The top 25 is out from the AP poll. That means we're getting closer. Georgia's number 1, Ohio State number 2, Oregon number 3, Texas number 4, and how about Alabama starting a season not in the top 3? They're ranked number 5 with Kalen DeBoer to start off their new campaign. As you may have learned yesterday, if you followed me on social media, the Miami Marlins had a cleaning house, so to speak. A lot of executives let go, including 2 assistant general managers and many other staff members as well, as new president of baseball operations Peter Bendix brings in his own people. Will Wagner, the son of Billy Wagner, made his major league debut last night for the Toronto Blue Jays, and he had 3 hits in his debut against the Los Angeles Angels. He is the son of Billy, 7-time All-Star, and hopefully next year into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Came just short in the last voting. How about the Chicago White Sox? Their World Series was yesterday. They beat the New York Yankees by a final of 12-2. That's right, the White Sox beat the Yankees 12-2. Jazz Chisholm was hurt in the game. X-rays were negative. They're going to have more imaging today. He said he's fine. That doesn't mean anything. Jarren Duran of the Boston Red Sox has been suspended 2 games by the team. A team-imposed suspension for using a slur at a fan during a game. Red Sox are sitting him down for a couple. All right, there's some very peculiar notes here regarding sports betting and the Olympics. And again, this is the first time that we've really seen intense betting on the Olympics. And some of the medals, according to the sports books, have different settling bets, including USA and China's gold medal with a tie. So it just sort of depended on where and how you made these bets. But needless to say, not everybody is paying out the same exact way, plus or minus money included. Jordan Chiles and her medal right now is still up for debate. We're still talking about it, even days after she was forced to give it back. An arbitration panel says they won't reconsider the decision on giving her bronze medal back that she was awarded in the floor exercise at the Paris Olympics. USA Gymnastics says it will continue efforts to let her keep the medal. But the quote from USA Gymnastics is that they were notified by the Court of Arbitration on Monday that their rules do not allow for an arbitration award to be reconsidered even when the conclusive new evidence is presented. So bottom line is she's probably going to have to give that back, unfortunately. And meanwhile, the world champions in hockey, the Florida Panthers, have a brand new streaming service that they are using with ViewLift to launch a DTC streaming service, airing their games locally, but also streaming their games with a partner called ViewLift to make sure that everybody is able to view their games in the future. Naturally, this is surrounding Bally Sports, which previously aired all Florida Panthers games, and also Bally Sports has aired on these regional sports books, all sports across the country. Needless to say, this is their new service, and they are moving on with this. For those of you interested in learning more about the company and maybe even learning about this story that we just broke for you earlier in the show from Inc., you can obviously check it out on the SportsGrid app. Just download the app right now. There it is on your screen. Make sure that you scan it with your phone. It'll give you a QR code. You can download it for both iOS and Android. It is the SportsGrid app, brand new, for free. Just download it and you'll be all set. Coming up next here on the show, we've got Matt Lutovsky from Sporting News. He will go over the latest races, the American League MVP, talk about whether or not Bobby Witt has a shot to catch Aaron Judge, and we'll also take a look at the Rookie of the Year odds as well. In addition, we will also touch on everything happening in college and pro football, and make sure you stick around for the Sound Off segment as well, as we'll hear from Jonathan Gannon, the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, and also Kevin Stefanski, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Then Sam McQuillan joins us in the show from Legal Sports Report. So make sure you catch us throughout the day, and of course, later in the program, Brady Kannon will join us, and we'll go over the latest on the PGA Tour for those of you getting ready to place your bets, so to speak, on the upcoming St. Jude and the FedEx Cup Championship. We'll be right back here with more NewsWire on SportsGrid right after this quick timeout. So don't forget, it's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Get the edge. We'll be right back.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're a legit 5 deep at receivers. 7 bona fide pass targets. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It just goes to show you how special this guy is, and I can't figure out why he doesn't cut through like the Tiger Woods of the world in that kind of dominant fashion in years past.
He stepped up to the tee box on the 14th hole, and he was 60-1 to win that golf tournament. You know, he was trailing by 6 shots, and he comes out on top.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
However many units are on the line, however many people, however many cocktails, like it's a perfect scorecard. And someone questioned him on one hole. He's like, well, one thing I never get wrong is the scorecard. And then we're on like 13 and he's added up and he's like, this is wrong.
I looked back from number 13 and I'm like, I'm missing $140 somewhere. I don't know where I'm missing it. And I'm looking back and I'm like, no, yeah, it doesn't match up on 11. And I got to track it back to like number 7.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Matt Lutovsky joins us as we get into it. The baseball awards are coming up at the end of the season. In fact, the regular season in Major League Baseball ends at the end of September, early October, and then we get to postseason stuff. Are these awards all locked up? Let's find out. Bring in Matt from Sporting News. Matt, great to have you back here on NewsWire. And while a lot of our attention, let's just be honest, is headed toward football season, fantasy football season, betting football season, college and pro. Let's put a bow on this baseball season, shall we? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I always like being here. And yeah, baseball seems to have probably gotten lost in the shuffle a little bit between the Olympics and the NFL. So it's always good to remind people that it's getting to its most exciting time of the year.
Yeah, it is. And the American League MVP, for a lot of people, feel like it's an open and shut case that Aaron Judge is going to win the MVP, regardless of how many times he gets walked down the stretch. He has 42 home runs on the season. He is minus 1,500 right now to win the award. Bobby Witt Jr.'s numbers are off the charts incredible. And if there was a 1A MVP, it would be him. It's harder to be in Kansas City than it is in New York. We know that. It's now a two-player race at this point. But Witt's numbers at the end of the year, Matt, are going to look as good as any MVP's ever had. Is he just playing the wrong season and having these numbers?
And that's what it feels like. You'll hear a lot, well, it was an MVP caliber season, even if a guy doesn't win it that year. That couldn't be more true of the season Witt's having. And, you try to think, well, does he have a chance? What would it take? Well, unfortunately, it would probably take an injury to Aaron Judge, which no one wants to see, or, something just a catastrophic slump that's highly unlikely to happen when you're not seeing any pitches to hit anyway. But, it's funny when you look at some of the advanced numbers, like you look at the Fangraphs WAR, you look at the Baseball Reference WAR. I mean, it is pretty much neck and neck. There isn't a wide chasm. And, people might be wondering, well, how is that possible? Well, it's because of the defense and how much Witt makes up in defense. And that's not to say he's not having an unbelievable offensive season. So if you ask me, is there a chance? I do think there's a chance, a very small one, because let's face it, at the end of the day, MVP voters were always going to look at the offensive numbers. Home runs still rule. It doesn't matter how much we try to say that other numbers might matter just as much. But, I think for Witt to even be in the conversation, he has to hit some benchmarks. He's probably going to do the 100 with runs and ribbies, certainly on pace for that. I think 30-30 would go a long way. I don't know if he can get there in home runs. He'll be probably pretty close. I think over 350 with his average, which he could certainly do, over 400 with his OBP. Just some nice little benchmarks that look a little better when, Judge's benchmarks are obviously going to be eye-popping. So, and of course, Kansas City has to make the playoffs too. I think that's a key part to this as well, which right now they're in position to do. But even if he hits all those, I think it's Judge's award to lose for sure.
Yeah, look, the guy hits 50, 60 home runs. It's hard not to give that guy the award, and he plays in pinstripes. That's the other thing there. Okay, so the Rookie of the Year odds shifted significantly in a couple of months. Colton Cowser is the favorite, prohibitive favorite, minus 280. Luis Gil, who was the favorite a couple of months ago, is now in the second position. Austin Wells has climbed all the way to 10-1, and Ceddanne Rafaela, who I love, by the way, I think this kid is a player. He is 25-1, but he's not going to win the award. So it's probably down to Cowser, Gil, or Wells. And let's just be honest with you, Matt. If this award was the first half award, it is Luis Gil, open and shut. But the innings have piled up. He hasn't been the same. And Cowser has just been on a tear. So I think it's probably his to lose. But I don't think that this is open and shut just yet.
Well, I don't think it should be. That's for sure. It's funny when you just look at Cowser's stats. You know, overall for the season, you think, all right, those are pretty good, I guess. Like it really is, and he, he's been good. You have to obviously you say for a rookie, that's what the award is. But I don't know. I just look at Gil, and maybe it's just a personal preference thing. I like that dominant pitcher, and you really you look at his game log. He had that 3-start stretch that was bad, that really inflated his numbers. He came out of that stretch, had 3 straight starts where he allowed 1 earned run against some very good teams, against the Red Sox, the Orioles, and the Mets, I believe. And the Yankees only went 1-2 in those starts, but it wasn't as if it was his fault. So I just find it very interesting that you put those odds up there, and they are what they are, because, I think that if I had a vote, I would pick Gil, and that's nothing against Cowser or anyone else. I just think that pitcher who's been so good every 5th day that you can count on, that's the guy that I would rather give the award to. I think he's been the best rookie, and he's done it in a very tough place with a lot of pressure. So he'd get my vote, but yeah, I guess right now the odds say otherwise.
Yeah, and not over yet, as you said. Still
Right.
a month and a half to go. Okay, so the Cy Young Award picked up a little steam last night. Chris Sale's now a bigger favorite to win the Cy Young than he was 24 hours ago. And this is what happens, man. As we get closer to the end, there's less time for these other guys to catch up. So Chris Sale goes from about minus 115 to minus 140 after his performance against Blake Snell. Great game last night. Zach Wheeler's plus 165. Paul Skeens has now fallen back from about 4 and 5 to 1 to plus 650. And I think that the stats compiling for both of these pitchers at the end of the season is just too much for Paul Skeens to overcome. But there's no question with 6 starts probably for both guys coming down the stretch. This could absolutely go either way. I mean, Sale could easily win it, but so could Wheeler. This is far from over.
Yeah, I think with Skeens, when you're 40 to 60 innings behind the leaders, it's very tough to make up. And I just think the bottom line is Sale's been the better pitcher than Wheeler. Like, that's it. You just look at the numbers, the Ks stand out so much. And that's not to take anything away from Wheeler, but just across the board, when you put it all together, Sale's been better. In fact, I think there's other pitchers in the National League who've been better that weren't on that list. So it's a very close race. I think Wheeler still has a chance if he has a very strong finish. But as long as Sale doesn't, get hurt or completely collapse down the stretch, it's his award to lose in my eyes. I personally don't think it's particularly close. But, again, maybe the voters think otherwise, and it will be.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Chris Sale, man, imagine me telling you Chris Sale's going to win the Cy Young and the Braves are on the verge of not making the playoffs. You never would have thought that would be the case, but here we are.
Never.
Thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, we'll be back with the Sound Off next.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're a legit 5 deep at receivers. 7 bona fide pass targets deal. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It just goes to show you how special this guy is, and I can't figure out why he doesn't cut through like the Tiger Woods of the world in that kind of dominant fashion in years past.
He stepped up to the tee box on the 14th hole, and he was 60-1 to win that golf tournament. You know, he was trailing by 6 shots, and he comes out on top.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
However many units are on the line, however many people, however many cocktails, like, it's a perfect scorecard. And someone questioned him on one hole. He's like, well, one thing I never get wrong is the scorecard. And then we're on like 13 and he's added up and he's like, this is wrong.
I looked back from number 13 and I'm like, I'm missing $140 somewhere. I don't know where I'm missing it. And I'm looking back and I'm like, no, yeah, it doesn't match up on 11. And I got to track it back to like number 7.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We'll get a little preview from the Arizona Cardinals head coach, the Cleveland Browns head coach. We'll also take a closer look at the Houston Texans every day at this time here on NewsWire. We let you hear from some of the athletes, performers, and social media correspondents on some topics around the NFL and other leagues as well. It's time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. Well, one guest contributor who you'll be seeing a lot more here on SportsGrid is Casey Hudson. Casey, welcome to the team here at SportsGrid. And Casey's first subject here on our show today is the red-hot Houston Texans. Haven't even played a game yet in the National Football League and look like one of the most bet teams to get to the AFC Championship, get potentially to the Super Bowl, looked really good in their first preseason game as well. Is it all legit? Let's check in on Casey as she has a preview as to what we can expect from the Texans this season.
Is there too much hype around the Texans? Can they actually top their 10-7 record from last year? Absolutely. After making it to the divisional round, surprisingly, by the way, they're one of the few teams in the NFL that properly strengthened and molded their roster in this offseason. Plus, would Stephon Diggs go anywhere that he didn't believe that he would have success? I don't think so. So looking at NFL's futures, I really love taking them at 11 wins at plus 600 right now. You've got a great pass catch room. You are getting into a rhythmic running game, adding Mixon to that group. Not to mention, is it CJ Stroud? If he only matches what he did last season, he's going to continue to help this team succeed and excel. And is anybody else excited to see Hunter come off the edge for this team? Because I know that I am, which is exactly why I think between their strength of schedule and their additions to this roster that they can pick up 11 wins and see another successful season, maybe even more impactful than the 2023-24 season.
All right, thanks, Casey. We'll see. You know, what we always find funny in sports is that sometimes the next best thing, you know, with a team, baseball, football, basketball, ends up falling a little short of those expectations. I just wonder if the Houston Texans are one of those teams. But Casey thinks you go the other way. Take the over. All right, joint practices coming up for the Arizona Cardinals and Indianapolis Colts, and a really good shot to see a team that is at full strength, unlike they were last year with the Arizona Cardinals. Had some issues last year with some players there, including their quarterback, Kyler Murray. Here's the head coach of the Cardinals, Jonathan Cannon, giving us a preview as to what we can expect with the practices.
A little uptick. Yeah, I liked where our mode of play was in the game, but the things that we need to get better and uptick is technique against different people, and I would say execution of just schematic things within each group, you know. So that's always probably going to be one of the answers, you know, unless we decide to show up and not run and not hit people and not do those things, which hopefully those things stay consistent. But our guys, they pretty much keep that consistent. I think there's things I pointed out today. We can always be better at that, and we'll always strive to be better at that. But, you know, technique, you know, that's kind of what I'm looking at here, this and that versus, and it's cool because it's not technique going against cards versus cards. Now it's technique going about, you know, against somebody that they maybe haven't studied like they would going into a game.
I think you just heard a minute of coach speak from an NFL coach. That's all I heard there from Jonathan Gannon. All right. Meanwhile, Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns are going to get their first crack at their joint practice with the Minnesota Vikings. Their defensive coordinator is one of the best in the game in Brian Flores. He's been around the league now, former head coach of the Miami Dolphins as well. Stefanski talking about that challenge of going up against a really good defense with a really good coach.
Coach Flores does a great job on their defensive side, so it'll be very different from our front. And then coach is known for a lot of pressure, which we need a lot of work at that, so that'd be great. And then different personnel, you know, certainly the outside linebackers more standing up than our four down. And then on the offensive side, Coach O'Connell and Wes Phillips do a great job with a bunch of different schemes that are very difficult. We share some DNA in what they do offensively, but they also do some really interesting things in the pass game and the run game.
All right, and all of the preseason action this week, which is sort of strange, folks. I was talking with this about Greg Sussman yesterday. Thursday preseason games this week, Saturday preseason games, and Sunday. There is not a single NFL preseason game this Friday night in week 2 of the NFL preseason. I don't ever remember that happening, but folks, it's all coming up Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday this week.
Team golf is back. Are you ready? Let's go! That's what champions do.
what is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're legit 5 deep at receivers. 7 bona fide pass targets deal. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It just goes to show you how special this guy is, and I can't figure out why he doesn't cut through like the Tiger Woods of the world in that kind of dominant fashion in years past.
He stepped up to the tee box on the 14th hole, and he was 60-1 to win that golf tournament. You know, he was trailing by 6 shots, and he comes out on top.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
However many units are on the line, however many people, however many cocktails, like it's a perfect scorecard. And someone questioned him on one hole. He's like, well, one thing I never get wrong is the scorecard. And then we're on like 13 and he's adding up and he's like, this is wrong.
I looked back from number 13 and I'm like, I'm missing $140 somewhere. I don't know where I'm missing it. And I'm looking back and I'm like, no, yeah, it doesn't match up on 11. And I got to track it back to like number 7.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We've got Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report with us. By the way, everything that we discuss here with our guest contributors from Legal Sports Report can also be read over at LegalSportsReport.com. Let's bring in Sam. Sam, thanks again for coming on the show. And let's just dive right in. So the big story over the last couple of weeks in the sports betting universe has been the idea that DraftKings comes out and says that they're going to put a little bit of a tax on your winnings. Very small amount that you won't notice, although small bettors notice everything, Sam. I guess the question is, with FanDuel's earning report coming this afternoon, do you think that they will follow suit like DraftKings and also make the same announcement that they're going to tack on a little tax to some winnings?
Yeah, Craig, if I had to predict what FanDuel is going to do here, I would lean towards them not doing a surcharge tax like DraftKings has announced in those states like Pennsylvania, New York, Illinois, and Vermont, where the taxes are above 20%. So essentially they're passing that down to the bettor. Like you said, the small charge, but still something that people are going to notice. You know, it's essentially going to make the pricing worse after the fact that you place a bet. I would guess that FanDuel wouldn't do that. It seems like it'd be a good kind of PR move to just not follow suit. It was relatively unexpected when DraftKings announced this. So it gives you the idea that a lot of companies weren't thinking about it in the first place. Now, Flutter, the company that owns FanDuel, has a lot of experience across the world, unlike DraftKings does. So some Wall Street analysts have hypothesized that perhaps they've tried this elsewhere or contemplated doing it in other markets. They essentially have more data because, you know, Europe and Asia have had sports betting legally for a lot longer than the U.S. So they could draw on that, see if maybe it's worked there. A lot of people are also waiting to see, you know, if they do it, then is this going to mean that every other company then follows suit? You know, DraftKings and FanDuel are the 2 biggest players in the space. So essentially, if they're able to stay at the top of the market and add these fees, you might think other books, maybe, why wouldn't we do this? A lot of people are split on how it's going to impact a company like DraftKings, whether or not it's going to cause those small bettors, like you said, to go elsewhere to a platform that doesn't have it, or if it's going to actually make up so much money and people really won't notice. I think we've seen a lot with the popularity of parlays and same game parlays and how the pricing has gotten a little bit worse when you combine some of these, player props together, that maybe people really don't care about pricing as much as you would think. They just want a better user experience. They want the platform that they're used to. That's what DraftKings is betting on here. We'll see if FanDuel copies them.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it's a very big story if FanDuel decides to go that route. We'll check out your social media feed, Sam, and everyone else's at Legal Sports Report for that announcement coming later today. Meanwhile, deadline for Missouri. Pat and I talked about this yesterday here on the show to see if sports betting even gets on the ballot. They've had issues Sam, over the last couple of years. In fact, Missouri was one of those states that a lot of people predicted would have sports betting by now, but they have not for various different reasons. What are the odds this gets done today?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that this will get done. What's happened here is this group that went out to collect signatures to get the sports betting initiative on the ballot has already submitted them. Now they're just waiting on the Secretary of State to essentially verify those signatures, make sure they're all real, there's no duplicates. It's part of the electoral process. What you should regard today as is just kind of a procedural step to make sure it goes forward. But when that announces, it's then going to get the momentum forward for the actual campaign itself to get people on board to vote for sports betting. You know, it's one thing to get it on the ballot, but then, you know, like we've seen with California, it doesn't always work out just because you raise all this money. So you got companies like FanDuel, companies like DraftKings have raised almost $7 million just to get this done.
Yeah.
And I would say Missouri is probably more likely of a state to legalize this year than any other year, just because the focus is not as much on other states like California, states like Texas, states like Georgia. There's really not as many states left that are so close to legalizing sports betting, at least for a few more years. And the ones that are left, Missouri is one of the biggest ones out of those states. Like you said, people have kind of been questioning why it hasn't gotten done. There's essentially been one senator who has roadblocked a bill every time it gets passed through the House over an issue with video lottery terminals that he wants to get rid of in order for the casinos to make some more money. So it's all this political bargaining back and forth. But now that they're essentially going past the legislature and giving the power to the people to decide, it's much more likely because you don't have just this guy in the way the whole time. So I would look for later today. We'll have updates on whether or not it's going to be on the ballot. And then from then on, you go to the big race between whether or not people are going to vote for it or not. You're going to have a lot of money spent on both sides that want sports betting, sides that don't want sports betting. So Missouri should be a pretty interesting state to watch as far as the rest of the country goes this year.
Yeah, and maybe they get legalized either next year or the year after. And again, you know, kind of tough to get that all done this year, but we'll see. All right, so let's end with a earnings call from Sport Radar, a company we're very familiar with here, of course, at SportsGrid. They posted, I know, on social media some commentary just about their growth involved with the UEFA Champions League as well. A very popular company that has really put their footprint in on a lot of sports betting and just sports entities as well. What have we learned from their call?
Yeah, Sport Radar is continuing to grow their business, whether you're talking about betting, technology, their media partnerships, essentially trying to monetize the growth in customer outlook, in people interacting with sports through sports betting. They did a really good job this past quarter, raising revenue 29%, with U.S. leading the way with 60%, which is pretty interesting given the fact that there weren't that many popular U.S. sports this quarter. You saw a lot more popular sports across the world. You had the Olympics, obviously. You had the Copa America. You had the Euros, all sports that get a lot more, or events that get a lot more traction across the world. So the fact that they were able to grow the U.S. so much in what's usually a down quarter for U.S. sports is a pretty good sign for the rest of the industry, pretty good sign for the rest of the companies. They're going to report their calls. So they're going to continue to try to grow their business that way through more live betting, through more products that they're giving to partners like the NBA. They just renewed a contract with UEFA to expand how many matches they offer. So they're really trying to diversify their portfolio with more live betting products, more innovative kind of solutions to monetize all this engagement that you're seeing across the world. Because it's one thing to have people tune in, but then you have to have companies that are going to figure out how to get money for all these different leagues. So they had a really good year in terms of handle as well, with a record 9.9 billion across the world. So you're seeing betting is up across the board, and they're raising their outlook for next year as well, really bullish on the continued expansion of the U.S. market. Now that companies, you know, aren't necessarily spending as much on customers, now that sports books aren't necessarily popping up left and right, you've seen promos cool down with ESPN Bet and Fanatics as well, and less state launches. So it looks to be kind of a period where they're going to really dig their heels in and try to deliver more growth on the product side, while their customers are able to spend a little bit more on that and a little bit less on customers.
Yeah, and look, some of these companies will keep an eye on as well. So thanks again, Sam, for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. We'll catch up again soon. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Craig.
All right, Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. In case you missed our story earlier in the show, SportsGrid is now once again for the second straight year in Inc. magazine and online, and a huge accomplishment for us. We've made the top 5,000 in terms of growth for companies. It's back-to-back years, folks, in the top 1,000, by the way. You could read all about this over at sportsgrid.com and also on our social media channel. That's at SportsGrid, and I also reposted it as well. You can see and read more about our growth as a company, back-to-back years in the top 5,000 on Inc. We'll take a quick time out here on the show. When we come back next, what in the world was Matt Kuchar thinking finishing off his round on Monday when the only thing it meant was something to him and not everybody else? Wasn't going to win. Why did he do it? Brady Kannon will weigh on that decision next and also tell us about the upcoming playoff and also hit on the St. Jude Championship. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid, and we'll take a quick time out here on the show and be back with Brady Kannon talking some PGA Tour right after this.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're legit 5 deep at receiver. 7 bona fide pass targets deal. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It just goes to show you how special this guy is, and I can't figure out why he doesn't cut through like the Tiger Woods of the world in that kind of dominant fashion in years past.
He stepped up to the tee box on the 14th hole, and he was 60-1 to win that golf tournament. You know, he was trailing by 6 shots, and he comes out on top.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
However many units are on the line, however many people, however many cocktails, like it's a perfect scorecard. And someone questioned him on one hole. He's like, well, one thing I never get wrong is the scorecard. And then we're on like 13 and he's added up and he's like, this is wrong.
I looked back from number 13 and I'm like, I'm missing $140 somewhere. I don't know where I'm missing it. And I'm looking back and I'm like, no, yeah, it doesn't match up on 11. And I got to track it back to like number 7.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We've got Brady Kannon joining us of SportsGrid and, of course, writes for golf.com, previews every week, including this week with the upcoming St. Jude Championship. Brady, thanks for coming on the show here. Before we get into what's to come, I got to dive into what happened last week. Now, you know, naturally, it was a very unfortunate finish with one player on the PGA Tour, which led to a win for another. But that really wasn't the story. The story was Matt Kuchar, who had a really nice first and second day, decided to finish his round on Monday morning, unprecedented, without any top 10 finish involved, no money at stake, and, you know, got ripped a little bit for doing it. But Brady, I learned later on that his PGA Tour card was somewhat in jeopardy, and potentially that's the reason why he decided to do it. As somebody who plays golf and is obviously familiar with sports betting and being in golf, what did you make of that entire situation?
Well, there is some truth to that. You have to make the top 70 in the FedEx Cup point standings to secure your card for 2025. But Kuchar had to win this event to get into that top 70 and advance to the playoffs, which are beginning this week in Memphis, Tennessee. So he was not going to win the tournament, even though he was in the lead for a while earlier in the day. Like you said, he had a very nice week. But by the time we got to the 18th hole and darkness was setting in, Matt Kuchar was no longer going to be in the top 70 and make the postseason. And you're right, there was not a lot of financial implication. I mean, his season was pretty much over at that point. I thought that he was trying to be courteous at first because you did have his playing partner, Max Greiserman, right there still in the thick of it, trying to catch Aaron Rai. I thought he was trying to be courteous, and his drive was off, was way off in the rough, a bad tee shot. And it looked to me when I was watching it on TV that I'll get out of the way. I know we're fighting daylight here. You guys go ahead and play. I know you've got a shot to win. And I didn't know if he was going to withdraw at that point or be disqualified. I didn't really know what was going on, but I thought that was his initial intention. Then I came to find out that he had the option. They said a theoretical horn had been blown, and you now have the option to continue to finish the hole or quit. And I guess he opted to quit. And again, I thought that was initially to try and save time, take one player out of the group, let the other two players play a little more quickly. But I don't really think that was it either. He never mentioned any of that. And let's be honest, it wouldn't have taken that much time for another player to play his ball as well. But he came out the next day and said, it's typical when you hit a bad shot and you have this option to go ahead and just calm down for a minute and come back the next day. I get that. The problem is, it costs the club a tremendous amount of money to bring the staff back out, turn the lights back on, so to speak. They might have been somewhat prepared for a Monday finish because it looked like we were headed that direction, but not for just one player, the way it turned out. And, this is not the first time that Matt Kuchar has been controversial. I think it was 2019 when he won in Mayakoba at Riviera Maya. And there was a big to-do about the fact that he shorted his caddy on the tip. It's typical that the caddy always gets 10% of the player's winnings. And apparently Kuchar was far short of that and has had a reputation for being a little bit tight in this manner. And then, to kind of stiff the club with all these expenses to come back out and reboot for a Monday finish, he should have donated his winnings back to the course for what it cost him to reopen that day, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and not only that, but I saw that he asked for a removal of an obstruction also immediately upon arriving on Monday, too. Crazy story for this past week, but glad that, Brady, we have you to weigh in on it. All right, so tell us about the playoffs coming up. I know that a lot of folks are not used to this. They may not understand it completely, but we're on the precipice of it. Let's break it down. PGA Tour playoffs, here we go. Xander's the favorite. We know that. But what does it all mean, the field, et cetera? How does this work out?
Well, we've been building all year, players accumulating FedEx Cup points, depending on how they finish, if they win, if they make the cut, what have you. And at the top of that points list, no surprise, is Scotty Scheffler. And like you say, second place, Xander Schauffele, Rory McIlroy, on down the list there. And the Wyndham Championship last week was the final regular season event. So now the points are set for the season. And while it used to be the top 125 players that get into the playoffs, they've now cut it back to just the top 70 players. That began last year. And I kind of like it this way. There are different, like I said, with the players, the top 70 getting their card for next year, there are different implications as far as keeping your card, your job, all that good stuff. But now we have the top 70 players in FedEx Cup points this week. Once this tournament is figured, once the results are final, we'll reshuffle the points, and it'll be the top 50 players advancing to next week, the BMW Championship in Colorado. And then when that event concludes, we will have the top 30 players in points, and they will go to the final, the Tour Championship at East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta, the final 30 players. And They will compete for $25 million, which is the first prize to the FedEx Cup winner. So this is the first of 3 playoff rounds, if you will, with 70 players in the field at TPC Southwind. And, we're going to get the best 70, 50, and 30 players here on down the line for the next few weeks on the PGA Tour.
As far as who you like, I know Morikawa leads the list for you. Why is he of interest for you this weekend?
Well, first of all, I don't really want to go to the top of the board where Mr. Scheffler, Mr. Schauffele, and Rory are at single digits. And yeah, Scotty could win here once again. But, the truth is, the last 4 trips he's made here to Memphis, his average finishing position has been 26th. So he really hasn't been the Scotty Scheffler that we're used to at this particular golf course. Colin Morikawa's been great all year. Ball striking, accuracy off the tee, that's what you really need here. So I'm trying to beat the favorites with the best 5 I could assemble. Guys that are accurate off the tee, tremendous iron players, ball strikers, that's what you need here. Russell Henley, Billy Horschel, Ben Griffin, and Hideki Matsuyama, they all fit that bill and have been in really good form as of late.
When are you going to announce this new podcast you're doing? I'm waiting for that. Is it soon or no?
Can we do it next week? Football around the corner, my
Brady
friend.
Kannon. We'll be right back.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes!
Are you ready?
Let's go! That's what champions do.
What is the ceiling for this kid? Now that he's got the money, and we saw something click with him, what is the ceiling for a Jordan Love in this Green Bay team?
Deepest pass target group in the National Football League. 2 stud tight ends. They're a legit 5 deep at receiver. 7 bona fide pass targets deal. Come on, man. This guy could be a stud. Top 5 quarterback.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
It just goes to show you how special this guy is, and I can't figure out why he doesn't cut through like the Tiger Woods of the world in that kind of dominant fashion in years past.
He stepped up to the tee box on the 14th hole, and he was 60-1 to win that golf tournament. He was trailing by 6 shots, and he comes out on top.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
However many units are on the line, however many people, however many cocktails, it's a perfect scorecard. And someone questioned him on one hole. He's like, well, one thing I never get wrong is the scorecard. And then we're on 13 and he's added up and he's like, this is wrong.
I looked back from number 13 and I'm like, I'm missing $140 somewhere. I don't know where I'm missing it. And I'm looking back and I'm like, no, it doesn't match up on 11. And I got to track it back to number 7.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As we wrap up the show today, did you know that there is a hotel in Milwaukee that is supposedly haunted? I did not know that. In addition, we'll hear what Tyreek Hill has to say about the Olympics and also touch on your favorite trading card. It's time now for some last licks. All right, well, wouldn't you know, it's time for Topps to release a new Topps Now card. For those of you who are unfamiliar, you can go to Topps' website. Anything that's happening in sports in the world, if it's significant, they usually make a card about it. And then what you can do is you can buy the card. And if you do, you have an opportunity to win a rarer card, meaning that they'll send you the actual card, but there's a chance you could win a 1 of 1. And look at this 1 of 1 possibility, folks, from Topps Now, with Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Steph Curry, all from the Olympic Games, which they just wrapped up another gold medal. So bottom line here, this is like playing the lottery. It's not that I'm discouraging you from buying this, but the way Topps Now works is that you have a 1 in like a million chance to get that card. Now,
try and set the stage for what should be a great year of NFL action.
There's a handful of teams that potentially can compete for a Super Bowl.
all right, didn't realize I was off the air there for a minute. Let's go back and show that Topps card there. Where did I drop, by the way, Frank? How far did I get into this? I don't even know I was off the air. So this is the gold medal card provided by Topps. You can purchase it at Topps Now. Now, you can't buy that card that you see right there on your screen. That's a 1 of 1, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant card. But if you go to Topps Now, you can get a shot to win that card. You get the actual card without the signatures, but they are releasing a 1 of 1, which is available over on Topps.com. That's our first part of Last Licks. All right, our second part of Last Licks is the Pfister Hotel. Have you heard of it? In Milwaukee, it is a hotel that is supposedly haunted, and Mookie Betts of the Los Angeles Dodgers, who is back off the injured list and hit a home run last night, says that he is not staying at that hotel because he is afraid of ghosts. Now, again, there's been no guarantee that there's actually ghosts there at the hotel in Milwaukee, but if you look online and you read stories about it, strange things happen, doors open and close, people see shadows. Mookie Betts decided instead of staying there at that hotel, he's just going to simply stay at an Airbnb, which is not unprecedented. We have heard people do this before in sports, especially for people who travel to Milwaukee. They do not want to stay there. Now, finally, yesterday, a very interesting interview that happened yesterday on the Up and Adams show with Kay Adams on FanDuel. Tyreek Hill did an interview with Kay Adams and was asked about responding to comments about Super Bowl winners not being world champs. And Tyreek Hill said yesterday on the show, quote, "Come on, bro, just speak on what you race on, and that's track." And also Tyreek Hill said that he would beat Noah Lyles in a race. Now, Tyreek Hill is not one that is afraid to make comments about things of that nature, and Tyreek Hill is obviously very fast, but I'm not sure. This is like one of those times where I'm not sure that Tyreek Hill is going to beat Noah Lyles in the 200-meter, the guy that just won gold after gold at the Olympic Games and also raced with COVID and finished with a bronze medal. But Cheetah's fast, probably the fastest players or one of the fastest players in the National Football League. But if you're putting these two guys head-to-head in an Olympic race, I am going to take Noah Lyles and congratulate Tyreek Hill for his participation. All right, that will do it for our show today. Give you an idea of the upcoming schedule here on SportsGrid. Coming up, we have the early line followed by Scott Kaplan at 1 o'clock Eastern. So make sure you tune into that show, followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast, as Scotty is getting ready for the upcoming football season like we are too. Game time decisions at 6, in-game live primetime tonight, and then Gabe on Sports Rage tonight as well. Make sure you catch them this evening. Thanks again to our director, Luke, and our producer, Frank. Also, thanks to our guests for contributing on the show today. They include Sam McQuillan of Legal Sports Report and also Matt Lutovsky of Sporting News and Brady Kannon talking golf here on SportsGrid. I look forward to seeing you on our next show tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, for our next edition of NewsWire. Enjoy all the Major League Baseball coverage coming up later. Don't forget, WNBA starts back up this Thursday. Have a great night. See you tomorrow for our next edition of the show.